Hello everyone, today we're going to discuss DuckDB. I'm not going to discuss pros and cons, whether or not you should use it, but what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to get started with it in Python. So we're going to show how to create a database and how to upload a CSV into that database, and then how you can kind of store that database to use later on. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, so diving into our notebook here, everything is starting from scratch here, except for you can see I've uploaded the shipyard integrations.csv. That's the CSV we're going to play with a little bit later. Everything else was starting fresh. So with that in mind, the first thing you're going to need to do if you're working with DuckDB inside of Shipyard is obviously you're going to need to install the package. So we're going to do pip install DuckDB. We're just going to allow it to install the most recent version of DuckDB that it wants. Nothing we're doing is very version specific. We're just going to hit the basics here. Of course, you can play with that and make it specific versions if that's something you want. Some things to note about DuckDB while this is installing. So DuckDB obviously is a database, and it loads things extremely quickly. So and especially for people who are just starting off in the data field, or if you're someone who just likes to experiment with some data, it's a great place to start because you can get things up very quickly, and then you can get things up and running. So let me go ahead and cancel this real quick. We have seen inside of Hex, it does like a specific version. I was just going to let it install whatever version it wanted, but we're just going to go ahead and install 0.9.2, which is a version that has been working with Hex. You can see there it goes. It's installing now. The most recent version of DuckDB isn't working inside of Hex currently, but that's for them to worry about, not us. This version has everything that we need. So you can see it's successfully installed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start with building a database. It's an on-memory database. Excuse me, not going to be exported, just going to be an in-memory database. So to do that, we're going to import DuckDB. There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to do a database in memory, be verbose there. It's equal to, you're going to DuckDB.connect. Good. So if I do DuckDB.connect, that's going to connect to that database. Again, it's just one in memory. We're not naming it anything. And then with that in mind, we can then do a statement. So we can do a database in memory.execute. So we can execute a SQL statement on that. And we're just going to do something simple because we don't have any data in there currently. So we'll just do a simple select 34. Select 34. And then we'll do a dot fetch. There we go. Go ahead and run that. So that's going to do something pretty simple for us, obviously. So it's just going to select that 34 in a column. But just kind of can show that, hey, we have spun up a database here. It is up and running, and we can kind of roll with it. So it's currently loading. So we'll let that continue to load, and then let it print that out, and then we'll roll from there. So while that's loading, the next thing we're going to do is actually read a CSV file and then upload that into a table into our database. So we're using a CSV. DuckDB also has Parquet. I know it can read in a pandas data frame. So anything like that, it can work as well. You can see this is running a little bit slow. So let me restart. Let's see. Let's kill. We'll restart this real quick. It's just running a little bit slow on Hex today. There we go. Okay, cool. There you go. You can see printed it. It just selected 34. Pretty simple stuff there, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to read a CSV in. So we're going to DuckDB.read CSV. So if you're familiar with pandas, pretty similar verbiage there. I'm going to copy this file name here. Go ahead and throw that in there. Throw some quotation marks around it. There we go. And then, of course, we can do a DuckDB.SQL. And then we can actually select star from that table, right? So from the shipyard integrations. Perfect. So what that's going to do is it's going to read that CSV, and then we can actually use SQL to actually read from it. So you can see there is all the columns. So if I just wanted to select one, I should just be able to select slug there. There we go. I might need to put a quotation mark around that. No, it works perfectly. So you can see there's just one column if you want that. So now what we can do is I actually want to create an actual database that we can reference on later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop down to another code block here. So we're going to do just database is equal to DuckDB.connect. And then this time I can just name this video demo.db. So I'm going to run that. That's going to create a database named videodemo.db that I can actually reference as a file. So what this opens up for you, if you're you coding on a local machine like I am, Jupyter Notebook, just a code editor. What this is going to allow you to do is work with the database, save it, and then you can upload it wherever you want to. You can put it in a Google Drive, an S3 bucket, anything like that, so that you can pull it back down and reference it later on. Which gives you some. I mean, it's especially if I'm thinking about back whenever I was a college student. If I had a tool like this, that'd have made life so much easier, right? We were just working with pandas data frames and just hoping that they worked, right? Okay, first off, we should probably put some quotation marks around that, right? There we go. All right, cool. So we have videodemo.db. You can see there it is. It's created. So that's pretty cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a table using that SQL or using that CSV file that we had earlier. So we can do a database .sql. So this just allows us to run a SQL command here. So we're going to do a create table called demo table as select, if I can spell, select star from read CSV. So similar command that we had earlier. Boom, put that in there, close those quotation marks. And I'm going to give this a auto detect as well. We have some funky stuff in this CSV file, so I'm just going to do an auto detect equals true here, so it won't throw us any errors based on some data types looking weird. So we can run that. So it should create that table for us. And the way that we can check is we can obviously do a database dot table and then throw our demo table, and then we can do a dot show command here. Perfect. Run that. There's our table. So that works out pretty perfectly for us. So now we should be able to also run a SQL statement against that as well. So let me close that down a little bit, collapse it. So database.sql. So I should be able to run a kind of select star from demo table. Haven't tested this, but this should work in premise, right? Perfect. So there's that SQL statement. So, and obviously we can select different things there. And so the last thing you're going to want to do here whenever you get done is you're going to want to do you're going to want to close this connection. I'm not going to do that because I'll continue working on this a little bit. But in this video, I just wanted to show how you can get started with DuckDB inside of Python. Just a simple loading a CSV in. Of course, you can do this with pandas. You can do this with polars. You can load Parquet files. There's a lot of functions you can do to take some files and put it into a database and start doing some transformations with. So I hope this was helpful. Check out some more of my DuckDB videos that are coming out, and I'll see you on the next one.